All right. A little something different this time. I guess it's not that different because I always talk about politics, but it's different in that I'm talking about like direct politics. But yeah, no, Canada has fallen. And I think that's a great title for this because it's true. And I don't know, I always try to stay out of politics and everything because, like, I believe all government is unjustified and doesn't deserve to exist, and other people shouldn't tell me what I can and cannot do with my own body or with my own money or with my own self, or as long as I'm not hurting anybody. I don't think anyone should have a say in what I can do or not do. That's my core belief, core to the core. Just leave me alone. If I want to do drugs and waste away, that's my right. If I want to get 17 abortions, that's my right. If I want to transition to female, that's my right. If I want to not believe in God, that's my right. If I want to shoot machine guns in the woods and not hurt anybody, just shoot them into berms and have fun and have a good time, that's my right. As a free human, I'm allowed to do anything I want as long as I'm not hurting anybody. If I want to get vaccinated, not vaccinated, that's my right. Simple as. And personally, I believe that vaccines generally work. So I got vaccinated. I am vaccinated. I generally follow science and things and do research and do what's best for me, especially as an adult. As a kid, I didn't have much of a choice and things got forced on me, but I'm not mad that my parents got me vaccinated for measles because measles fucking sucks and the measles vaccine works. So that makes sense. And if I have kids, I, have a right as a parent to decide what's best for them. And I think that's sort of what it all boils down to for me. But anyway, in terms of Canada, which is where I live, it's totally, we've just fallen. And I think that for the first time in a long time, I'm finally seeing a political figure that actually gets me interested in politics. And I'm actually going to go vote, even though I don't believe in government. I just want to vote because as much as I don't believe in government still impacts my life. I have to pay taxes because I really don't want to go to jail. I don't want to fight the government, I have to follow rules that the government imposes on me. I'm basically living in an occupied state. I'm not happy about it, but I have to do it, because if I don't do it, I face severe consequences. I have to pay taxes because if I don't pay taxes, I'm going to jail. I have to follow gun laws and gun regulations. I'm a big gun guy. I love guns, but I have to follow all the rules because if I don't do it, I'm going to jail. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, that's just what it is for me. And I don't think I should be forced to move. That's the other thing. I don't want to have to leave my country. I was born here. This is my country. And I don't think I should be forced to leave my country to make other people happy. That's fucking ridiculous. Because the government says I can and can't do something, I have to leave where I was born. If I want to go pursue hobbies and interests that are against what the government thinks I should be allowed to do, I have to move down to the States. I don't want to move to the States. I don't like the States. I like the States. The people are nice, but I don't want to move to the States. I want to stay here. This is my country. I'm comfortable. I like my country. I love the forests and the wilderness and everything about it. I love being here and I want to stay here. I shouldn't be forced out of my country by my government because I don't subscribe to their beliefs. And that's why I'm voting, because I think finally I'm seeing a politician that's going to, I'm going to participate in their little fucking democracy game and play by their rules because, I don't want to go down a hail of gunfire. I have a job and I have a family and I have friends and I have a life I want to live. So, okay, I'll play by your rules. For so long, there hasn't been a candidate who, aligned with what I aligned with. But now finally I found there's this guy, he's been rising, he's gone kind of viral on the conservative side, Pierre Poilievre, and he makes sense. And it's like, finally, there's like a voice of reason in politics, and I'll play the game and I'll vote for him, and hopefully he's not a fucking sneaky snake rat bastard. It doesn't seem like it, and he actually does what he says he's gonna do. So right now in my country, if you want to buy a house and you're not a millionaire, like, you can't. You want to buy a detached home and you don't have rich family, it's just not an option for you. So housing is ridiculously expensive because of government policy. We have our taxes. We're being taxed out of our ass for supposedly green initiatives like carbon tax and shit like that. But all it does is make the cost of food like skyrocket. So we're paying everything we have towards basically essential services. Like, I make good money. And I can't afford a house. Groceries have me sweating. I want to do like luxury things like travel. It's like I have to budget and scrimp and save every little penny. And meanwhile, I've got, this asshole Justin Trudeau off there jet setting around, flying around, telling me how to live my life, going to New York every 6 months to be like, we need to tax people like me even more so that global warming stops. Like, fuck off. Like, fuck you. No. Like, we need common sense. We need honestly, when he says like common sense, Pierre Poilievre says common sense policies, it just makes sense. And Canada has fallen, and I honestly am taking a political stance for the first time, and I think that like people need to get out and we need to take our country back. We need to take it back. Like, we've gone so far off the deep end into this like left-wing hellscape where we're importing 1 million immigrants a year and we can't even house the people we have, where we're putting tampons in men's bathrooms and there's lines around the corner for people at food banks, where we have no houses. We're not building any houses, but we're locking off huge sections of the country. Like, we have so much available land and we're just locking it off for whatever, green reserves and whatever. We have all the resources we need. We have all the oil, all the wood, all the minerals. Like, we could be a powerhouse, and we're just locking it down and taxing the middle class to like play these global woke games. Like, it's ridiculous. And I have nothing against gay rights or women's rights or indigenous rights or whatever. Like, I have nothing against any of that. And I think the environment is fucked. And I think we need to make strides and changes and try to work on that. And the solutions aren't, nobody gets to own a car, everyone has to buy an electric car in a country that sees sub-zero temperatures and has no charging stations. And now we can't, like, they just banned electric cars 2035. Just banned gas cars. In 2035, we can't buy gas vehicles in my country for the environment. Who does that impact? That impacts people like me. It doesn't impact the fucking rich assholes that are making these rules, who are flying on private jets around the world, who have security details and have all the money in the world to buy multiple cars to like travel and shit. So all that does is lock people like me into cities and keeps me unavailable to go out and explore and enjoy my country and take pleasure in my country instead of forced to sit here and slave away and work to like pay taxes to keep feeding this machine. We've got I have nothing against trans people. You want to cut your dick off, you want to do whatever, be my guest. As an adult, make that choice. But I don't think like a 14-year-old should have medical autonomy and be allowed to make life-altering decisions. Don't let 14-year-olds get tattoos, but you'll let a 14-year-old like mutilate their genitals? Like, that's insane. Wait till you're 18. If you still want to be a woman, do it. But like, we're getting coached by like, these kids are getting coached by, teachers and drag queens and all this shit to like, follow your path and do this thing. And you're like, you're a kid. No. That's insane. That's utter insanity. And how have we come to accept this as like normal behavior? And if you speak out against it, you're labeled as some right wing, nut job terrorist type who hates the gays. I don't hate the gays. I don't. I really don't. I love all people. Like, if you want to do these things as adults. But we spend, $40 million putting tampons in men's rooms, and I'm driving home and I'm seeing lines for the food bank around the corner. Like, where are the priorities? Like, it makes absolute no sense. And you point it out and you're labeled as some nut job, some extremist, Same with like the vaccine mandate, the trucker protest. That was absolutely mind-blowingly insane how they were treated and labeled as terrorists and white supremacists and evil, and they wanted to tear down the country. They wanted a right over their own body. We had this virus that wasn't really that severe, and we had the government forcing vaccines on people. And if you said no, you lost your job, you lost your livelihood. I know people who lost everything because they didn't want to get this vaccine because it's their choice. It's their body. Their body, their choice. And like me personally, like I got it because I didn't see it was that harmful, one. And I wasn't going to like lose my job over it too. But I didn't get all the boosters and shit. And I'll be damned if I'm going to do it now, because you're not going to force me to do this shit. Like, to what end? It was literally just do it because I said so. And you're going to lose everything if you don't. Like, the disease that we're getting vaccinated for is nothing. Everyone I know who's been vaccinated has had COVID. Like, it doesn't stop it. The vaccine doesn't stop anything. So what is the purpose? We're getting vaccinated over and over and over again just because, and everyone's getting COVID. And if you don't, you're a crazy right-wing white supremacist who wants everyone to die and deserves to have their bank account frozen and locked up in jail. Like, is that really where we're at? For a vaccine that doesn't have any kind of effective, like, it doesn't work. It is a joke. And we went to war with people who stood up and pointed out that it was a joke. And meanwhile, you have now these like Palestinian protesters who are actually like shutting down like malls and causing all kinds of chaos. And we're just like, oh, that's fine. The Muslims can protest for their shit. But if you want to protest for bodily autonomy in Canada, you get locked up. You want to protest for religious extremism? That's fine. That's allowed. Why not? So here's my solution. Pierre Poilievre, he's got a plan. He's going to hopefully make things different. And it'll be like, it'll take the gas off. Like, it'll at least take the boot off my neck a little bit. So that's why I'm going to vote conservative. And I think anyone who has any desire to be free should be voting conservative in this country and should get these fucking nut jobs out, because it's just gone too far. Like, it's not funny anymore. It's not. And now I see why one of the first things they did was take away firearms, because everything else they've done, like, they deserve to get shot for. Like, it's absolutely nuts, and it's only going to get worse. And if we sit around, sit on our hands, we can't anymore. We have to stand up, and we have to make decisions, and we have to, like, force these assholes out. And unfortunately, we have to play the game. You know, I can't overthrow democracy. I can't, you know, live a fair life. I'm not ready to, you know, go to war over that shit. I don't want to fight and die. I just want to be left alone. So I'll play the game, and I'll vote this asshole out. Close the borders. Fuck off, we're full. Okay? 1. Build more housing. You want to build a house? Do it. Let people build houses. Let people rent out their basement apartments without all this government red tape. You know, affordable housing, government subsidized housing, that's not the solution. The solution is just plow it over, like, build houses for people and cut off the flow of people. If there's less people coming into the country, then guess what? There's less demand for housing, and we can build the houses for the ones that are already here. And we can just survive. We don't have to artificially prop up the real estate market. That's what it is. So do that. Close the borders. Do that. You know, and allow people to have autonomy over their bodies. Stop having government intervention on medical procedures. Stop forcing this, like, trans agenda. Let parents decide for their kids their own healthcare plans. And if you're 18 years old and you want to, you know, transition to a different gender, go ahead. You know, pay the surgeons and the money and do the therapies and all that shit. Be my guest. But if you're a 14-year-old and you go to your parents and you say, I want to be a girl, and they say no, and your parents are getting locked up for that, that's child abuse. And now your kid is allowed to go to these doctors and gene therapies and all this hormone therapy and stuff to make a life-altering decision when they aren't allowed to get a tattoo. They can't get a tattoo, but they can do all this other shit. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing where we're at. It's not funny anymore. This is broken. And anyone that speaks out against it is just painted in this, like, light that you're just some awful person. I'm not an awful person. I want people to be able to live their lives the way they want. That's all I want. And I think we have a solution. So, kind of a rant. I just need to get this out. And you want my solution for the Middle East? I can't give that one. But and my solution for crime, can't give that either. But I think we have finally someone with a brain running against this absolute nut job of a dictator that we've had for 8 years. And it has me excited. And I think everyone needs to get out and vote. And, you know, this is coming from an anarchist. Like, unfortunately, we have to play the game. You know, I can sit back and complain and be like, all governments are corrupt, and they are. And I don't expect this to solve anything, but at least it'll take the boot off my neck a bit, where I can breathe and not have to risk, you know, jail time because, you know, I misgender somebody or said that Hamas is a terrorist organization and Palestinians deserve to get thrown into the sea. Like, that's jail time now? Okay. Like, Israel should exist. Israel should have wiped the Palestinians out in the 70s. They should have bulldozed that whole country, but they didn't, and now they're facing the consequences, and now we're treating Israel like, you know, they're evil. Meanwhile, these Muslim Palestinians would, cut your head off for the beliefs you hold, but you're going to stand up for them. Women's rights and all this shit. Like, fuck off. Like, you're on the wrong side. Like, Muslims don't support you. It's wild. Sorry, my light died. And I think that's a good place to stop. That's my rant. That's my podcast. That's my not a personness. And then if anyone finds this and fucking tries to ruin my life, it's like, go ahead. Like, this is just more evidence into how broken this shit is. Like, the fact that I can't speak up without fear of absolute retaliation and having everything taken from me. Like, what country do I live in where I can't speak against the policies without fear of losing everything? Like, that's nuts. So I'm posting this. I'm putting this out there. This is not even crazy. It's not even that crazy. And I might face consequences for it. And it's like, where do I live? What year is it? What country am I living in? Am I living in China? So, fuck it. That's it. That's all. I'm out.